Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Miracle Network's Wednesday meditation gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. Meditation gathers energy and strength when we meditate together. This week we have Douglas Crawford, who will lead us into meditation. Then we have 20 minutes of silence. After that, we're going to open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Douglas.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I've decided to read a passage from the book, The Other Voice. In case you don't know that, that's another channeled work from Jesus that covers the first 15 chapters of the Course in Miracles. And the theme for this is about the body and sickness, something that I've found particularly challenging, and therefore I can assume many other people have as well. So like a refresher to remind me and all of you what the Course says about this. So here we go. You are absolutely free. You cannot take away your own freedom. All you can do is deny it. In the same way you have denied God. You can pretend that you are not free. You can pretend that your life is imposed upon you by that which is outside yourself, be it the illness of the body or the actions of your brother, or anything else you would deign to imagine. But all that you see when you believe yourself not to be free is your desire not to be free, projected upon the imagined nothingness which you believe exists outside of God. And all the while you know that what exists outside of God is nothing. And 'tis the same with you. What exists outside of you is nothing at all. So a God of sickness is a God who would speak to you and tell you that there is something outside yourself which can impose upon you an experience, that there is something outside yourself which can cause you not to be free. You have imagined the illness of your body as a primary proof that you are not free, while what you see is the projection of that belief upon nothingness. And now, what if you would desire to have sickness end? What is it that you should do? What is it that you can do? You are here within this imagined world of illusion, thinking thoughts that are not your real thoughts, thoughts which are of the past and which have no creative power. What can you do to end sickness, either in yourself or your brother? It is absolutely simple. If you would bring about the end of sickness, then cease at once to deny God. To deny God is as well to deny yourself, for God has made you part of him. And that which is God is that which is you. So if you place the awareness of God outside your mind by imagining it to be split, then with it goes the awareness of what you are. If you would end sickness, you must cease to deny God. And at the same time, you must cease to deny what you are as well. How can you do that here? Can you figure out what you are? Can you use these meaningless thoughts of which I have spoken to figure out what you are in order that you can cease to deny yourself and therefore cease to deny God? The answer to this is no, you cannot. Then how can you cease to deny God and yourself? You must do it by being still and listening to the part of your mind wherein lies the knowledge of God, the knowledge of what you are. In your silence, you will hear the voice of the Holy Spirit, singing you a song of God and a song of yourself, singing you a song of the fact that God is one and that you are the same. So use these words and use your thoughts only to determine what you will allow into your mind. If you have thoughts that speak of separation, if you have thoughts that speak to you of something external to yourself and which might impose your existence upon you, be it your body or your brother or anything else, then cease to allow that thought in your mind. Say to yourself in thoughts, I know it is not so, for I am free, for the laws of God and the laws of freedom and of love. And then listen. And you will hear the Holy Spirit singing you the song of love and freedom. As you sing that song, as it becomes you deep within, past the words, past the analyzing, you will become aware of the freedom that you once pretended to give up in order to come here. And in the awareness of your freedom, sickness will dissolve in front of your eyes as fog before the morning sun. Recall, I have told you not to side with the Son of God in sickness, even if he believes in it himself. That is what I meant. If your brother believes himself to be sick, then say to yourself in words, I know that sickness is a belief in magic, and I will cease to believe in magic. I will open to the awareness of what I truly am. And then, as you are still within, even in the presence of your brother, the Holy Spirit will sing you the same song, and your brother will have access to the same voice because he is one with you. He is free, and you cannot impose the song of freedom upon him. For if you could, he would not be free. So you simply realize within yourself that sickness is magic, and that what you see is your brother's freedom. Then offer that same freedom to him through your awareness. As you offer it to him, the gift shall become yours. You shall realize that sickness is indeed magic, and that there is no place in your life and your own sickness. And that it has no place in your life and your own sickness. And once again, and your own sickness, if you had believed in it before, will truly disappear, just as I have told you. And thus the truth remains. You can never, ever be sick without denying God. You cannot ever be sick without fabricating a God of sickness, which you have projected upon a nothingness that seems in your mind to lie outside of God. You cannot be sick ever unless you believe in magic, unless you refuse to believe in the perfection of God's Son, and unless you try to reconcile sickness and perfection, which of course you cannot. You cannot be sick at all, from the worst cancer to the slightest sniffle, to the slightest sigh of tiredness. You cannot be sick at all if you are aware within of God and of yourself. So if you would desire sickness to pass out of your life and out of your world, then in words say, I will no longer deny God nor myself, and then be still. And in the song that you will hear reverberating through your being, the song of the Holy Spirit, you will hear the truth. You will hear a song of truth that speaks of freedom, not bondage, truth, not illusion, perfection, not sickness, joy, not depression. But most of all, you will hear a song that speaks and sings simply of love, for that is the nature of God. And that as well is the nature of what you are. Blessings upon you all. That is all.
Open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 15 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. Or if you'd like to say something with confidentiality, put your message in the chat function at the bottom of the screen and I'll read it out. Who'd like to share? Norman, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you very much. Just get my breath back. Excuse me. Mentioned about people mentioning about breathing before we started, and that came into my mind. And while I was breathing, I thought, well, I'm breathing in oxygen, and that's what's keeping my body going. And when I breathe out, I'm breathing out, but I don't need. So it's only recently that I've become aware that God is everywhere. It just cannot exist except everywhere. And everything that I see, God's there. So I thought, all right, I'll try breathing in God to make sure. And I think that's where the release of pain and everything else that we suffer is in God, who is everywhere around in us. Really, really, every little morsel, every little cell, every little anything. And it hadn't anything to do with breathing. It was just the awareness of just what God is. And immediately, sort of the way I was brought up as a child, and I grew up in total abject fear of God. He was a Hebrew God who killed all the Hebrews' enemies, and he punished them drastically with plagues and all sorts of horrid things if they didn't do what their leaders told them. I believe now it was the leaders who were very clever and threatening the people with what God would do to them if they didn't do what they were told. And the whole world is suddenly dropped into place. You know, we do all these things to yourselves by being ruled by clever people over the years. And if we just let it all go and accept that, don't be in denial anymore, that God is fierce and ferocious, a terrible man or a terrible being. It's just pure, pure love, which just comes through us all. And that's all there is. And we just accept that. And don't be in denial of it anymore. And thank you very much indeed. You wouldn't all think that would just all come in one big rush, but there you go.
Yeah, thank you, Norman, and thank you for the insight about the breath. I've often seen as we take a deliberate in-breath, it's almost like saying, I am willing to see this differently. I'm willing to open to God, actually. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, who'd like to share? Douglas, what was the name of the book that you read from?
The Other Voice. It's by Brent Haskell, I think his name is. Well, I say by him, it's channeled through him. Brent Haskell. And that there are two books, and of course I can't remember the name of the second half. I don't know. Does anybody else in this group know the name of the other book? The one that covers the, or maybe it hasn't come through yet. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, it covers the first 15 chapters.
And which part were you reading from?
Yeah, I knew you'd ask me that. I'll have to.
Don't worry, it's not.
I'll have to check on that.
That's okay.
It's on a Kindle, so it's not that easy just to.
Oh, right. Okay.
Do the chapter headings.
Who'd like to share? Jim.
I think you said it was from chapter 3, although you may not know which part. Did you say that, or did I mishear?
I didn't say that, no.
Okay. Anyway, I very much enjoyed the reading. And it occurred to me that if we really know that freedom is totally in our hands, that I am always free, and I bind myself with my thoughts and ideas, there could be no room for any grievances. that freedom is totally absent of grievances. I'm not there, but I can see the potential of recognizing and acknowledging that I am always free. And I think it's a lovely passage, and I'll try and get the book myself. Would you like to say anything more about that, about freedom and lack of grievances?
Well, no, I think you've said it very insightfully, James. Thank you.
Thanks, Douglas.
Okay, who'd like to share? Catherine, take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I can be quite I have to very much, well, we all do, read A Course in Miracles in the presence of Holy Spirit, especially those parts that can send me into guilt rather than away from it. And what was lovely when you were reading, and it said something like, you have to do this one thing. And I thought it's going to say deny illness, which is a tricky one for me because I live with illness. And I think I am still in an element of denial, despite living with it for many years. There's a part of me that's, thinks I'm jumping around and walking up mountains. So I don't find it very practical to deny it. I take the word denial and misapply it to the level of form. And so it was so delightful when the one thing to do was to cease to deny God. And what I've found very powerful, I think for the last year or so, is to use the word include. I'm not sure if A Course in Miracles uses it much, but just include God in everything. Just include. I've had experiences of being excluded. And when I release judgment on that, it's okay to exclude someone. It's okay to exclude someone when they're not feeling well or you're not feeling well. Include God. It's interesting. I was in a breakout room with someone who said they forget to include God when things are good. I forget to include God when things are bad. I think I self-exclude. Oh, God wouldn't want to be with me when I'm feeling ill and miserable. It's good to state it because it's just ridiculous. So you mentioned at the beginning that, you're applying this to your own life, to the body and sickness. And I just wonder if you could give an example of applying this passage or any other passage and how it's changed anything in the moment. But if nothing comes up, that's fine too.
Well, the reason I'm sharing it for my own personal reason is that I mean I don't have a sickness per se, but I'm having a lot of back ache at this time. Excuse me. And I've been reading Kenneth Wapnick's book called Ending the Escape from Love. I don't know if you know that one. It's all about our resistance. And what's interesting is the one passage in here says that whenever we have like an insight of real peace, or we have a period of real peace, the ego will come in and say, you're not going to get away with this, and throw you right into the darkness. And I was having a period of real, reasonable peace, you could say. And so now what I'm finding is that this backache is so distractful. It's taking my attention away, and it's making me not include God, as you were inferring there. It's like you cannot include God when you're distracted by actually anything in the world. And the body, of course, is the most wonderful tool of distraction of all.
Thank you.
So that's one of the reasons I was reading this passage, as a reminder to myself to have radical acceptance that this is a body that is extremely complicated, extremely vulnerable to all sorts of, they call it a miracle of nature, but it's actually the most vulnerable thing that we've ever come up with.
Yeah.
and deliberately so, to make it the greatest distraction of all. So I'm really going through a period of really accepting that, okay, so I have a backache right now, right? Not good, not bad, just accepting that that is, doesn't mean I'm not going to do some exercise or whatever to try and help it, but I won't be able to see what to do on this level unless I get to peace with even having the backache. That's what
thank you, Douglas. And I would add a little tweak, which is, you said something like, we can't access peace when we're distracted. But what I'm practicing is including God in the distraction, including God in the resistance, you know.
Right.
Because in that moment, I'm still myself. I'm still free of all limits, full of power and possibility. And it's like having the two. I think you're saying the same thing. Just, oh, okay, I have this and this, you know.
Yeah.
And this is illusion and this is reality. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Who'd like to share? Teresa, take yourself off mute.
Hi, Douglas. Thank you. It's lovely to see you again. Yes, I'm thinking not so much of physical pain, but mental distraction, like that, you know, and it just, I can, and the words like I can see peace instead of this comes in. But I am just very recently starting to think, okay, can I be non-judgmental of the noise? Can I notice it? Very similar to what Catherine was just saying. Can I notice this distraction in my brain, in my thoughts? It's my thoughts, not my brain. And just not judge it, just notice it. And I find that helpful. So it's a mental thing rather than a physical one. So it was really good to do that meditation and to breathe in. I was using the word stillness. That helped. So thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. It reminds me of something again that Kenneth Wapnick said in another book about all the way up the ladder, we will have ego attacks, and they can be just as vicious at the top of the ladder as they are at the bottom. But the difference is how long we spend with it, right? And so that's the measure of how well we're doing, is the amount of time we spend with the ego. So as soon as possible after your mind spinning, just notice, oh, that's what I was doing. And as you say, not to judge it, is to look at it calmly and peacefully. Oh, okay, so there I was spinning again. Not good, not bad. Thanks, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in. I used to get panic attacks, and they would last. You know, the whole effect would last for like hours, and it was awful, devastating. And I, over time, I just started handing it over to Holy Spirit. Say, Holy Spirit, heal my mind. And now I still get them occasionally, but they go quickly, as you were just saying. They don't last for hours. They last for maybe a minute.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Who'd like to share? Time for one more share. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Take yourself off mute and thank Douglas. Douglas, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was lovely to be
Douglas.
with you.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you,
Lovely
Douglas.
to see you.
Love you all.
Bye. To Denmark.
See you.